to a kill.
Cheers. We've been doing this a long time. Cheers. View to a Kill, the 14th Eon Bond film.
The last of the Moors.
And I was dreading watching this one. I think it's got a reputation, a bad reputation. I was so pleasantly surprised revisiting it.
Very strange experience, I'm not sure what happened. But I didn't hate it. I'm not going to go as far as saying I love it or even don't know if I like it. But I didn't loathe it. I thought it was going to be horrible and it was unusual. This was a mess, but an occasionally entertaining one.
There's a little less comedy than there was in Octopussy, and I think a lot of the comedy actually here comes laughing at it because it's this bizarre film where Roger Moore is now so old by this point.
Yeah.
He looks old, his neck is just this
Wrinkly and jowly.
ball bag, as you described it. Having this strange film with an old action hero that the film takes itself somewhat seriously, I think makes it a kind of interesting mess.
Here, put your hand on this. The wheel, take over.
Now we've got to a point with the Moors where there's a bit of a sense of melancholy.
Yeah.
It's finished. A big chunk of these have gone now. And that's it. That's it for Roger Moore. He's had his last martini and he's driven off into the sunset in
The back of an old person's van.
Yeah,
Old
loads.
person's van. Yeah.
What's one of those?
A hearse.
I'm a pathetic cook.
I'll lend a hand.
You can cook?
I've been known to dabble. Et voila. Quiche de cabinet.
Sounds interesting.
We have a quiche.
Yes, it looks like a pizza.
So shall I be mother? Do you know what that is? It's an omelette.
Okay.
What is it?
An omelette.
I haven't had a quiche in a while. I'm not the biggest fan of quiche.
I think you have to be in the right mood.
I'd sell everything and live in a tent before I give up.
So we did the drinking game. I won't explain the rules, but the rules will be down below. And much like the last film, this is a very meh drinking game.
Lowish, steady, 90 drinks. 90 drinker for View to a Kill. So in terms of boozing, Moore doesn't go out with a bang, but neither does he go out with a whimper.
No.
He goes out with a nice, steady 90 drinks.
Explosion.
3, 4, 4, 5. Is that 6?
The plot of A View to a Kill is very similar to Goldfinger.
But instead of gold, it's microchips.
Instead of gold, it's microchips, and he wants to increase the value of his microchips, but instead of a nuclear bomb, he is going to sink Silicon Valley. The villain in question is Zorin, not at all linked to a real person called Zorin, as this film points out at the beginning.
He's at pains to...
Do not sue us, Zorin.
But also Zorin's a sort of KGB lab-grown super genius.
Octopussy was also a lot like Goldfinger and had similar plot points going through this, and in many ways this is similar to Octopussy, where it starts off with the death of a 00 who has something on him, in this case a microchip, and they analyse it and it's got a link to this industrialist guy, and they track him down and then Bond discovers this plot.
Yeah,
that's the plot.
pretty much, yeah. Absolutely nothing to do with the book, which is a short story called From a View to a Kill. Basically the whole first half of it is Bond sitting, drinking and smoking in cafes. And then the second half of it is him on a stakeout basically looking for a sniper.
View to a kill.
View to a kill.
Yeah.
And they decided they had to try and keep the title, and they crowbarred it in as best they could.
What a view to a kill.
Moore's last one.
Yeah, you know, again, we've been really critical of the fact that he's outstayed his welcome.
Mm-hmm.
He's old, he looks old, it's really testing the credibility of the character and
It's
the
harder on the
series.
stuntman. The stuntman with ginger wigs.
He's looking more tanned in this one.
I think that's covering up the liver spots and the wrinkles, just caked in sort of orange tan.
He's very, very tanned, he's very wrinkly, he has a sort of chamois leather look to him, he almost looks like a camel. 100% the worst, the worst fight I've ever seen in a film.
It was weird. I was ready to go, fuck off, Moore, I'm done. And watching this, I found it endearing that it was this old man running around.
My anger melted away very quickly, and perhaps it's because I know it's his last hurrah, if indeed it is a hurrah. It's his last outing as Bond, and that I didn't loathe the experience of watching it as much as I had expected.
There's a scene early on in the movie where he meets M and the Secretary of Defence, and Moneypenny's there, and they're all ancient.
The combined age of that group of people is about 400, I think.
It's quite astonishing.
A chip totally impervious to magnetic pulse.
I tell you what, there are some mad fucking eyebrows in this scene.
And there's something astonishing about a blockbuster that's being made in 1985, where there are scenes of just these old men, and you said it sort of reminded you of the Harry and Paul sketch.
Do you know who I mean by Stephen Fry?
Yes, of course I do. He's my godson.
Is he?
Yes.
Is he a queer?
Of course he's not a queer, he's my godson.
He looks like a queer.
No, he doesn't, he's my godson.
And he sounds like a queer.
He doesn't sound like a queer at all, he's my godson.
Well, I think he looks like a queer and he sounds like a queer on television. I was just wondering if he was probably a queer. As he looks like a queer and he sounds like a queer, he's probably a queer. Wouldn't you think?
Certainly not, he's my godson.
It's not a vigorous, young, go-getting series, this anymore.
You wouldn't think that this was only about halfway through the franchise.
No.
This feels like a moribund franchise.
It does, it's grinding.
To the computer, we have several horses that might interest you.
Splendid.
Would you be interested primarily in stamina?
Christopher Walken, who I think the received wisdom for View to a Kill is, it's not great, but Christopher Walken's great. That seems to be the throwaway line.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken is intriguing. Christopher Walken
Is always someone who can...
gives a very Christopher Walken-y performance. I think people like it because it stands out as unlike other Bond villains that have preceded it. Odd industrialist crackpot who looks and sounds like Christopher Walken, who looks and sounds a little mad.
Yes.
Dead. That's rather neat, don't you think?
Brilliant.
He's quite a big star to have as a Bond villain. 7 years earlier, he'd won an Oscar for The Deer Hunter. He was actually a bit of a disappointment to me watching this time, because I think he's just, he just turns up and does his thing without giving it much else. And I didn't really get a sense of a character.
No, you don't.
He laughs a lot.
He laughs a hell of a lot.
Exactly.
And he machine guns people quite a lot towards the
Well, I
end.
love that scene, yeah. Tanya Roberts is the Bond girl. I think this is not a great Bond girl because they've gone for the she's an idiot kind of, she's a little bit just she's very beautiful. She's there.
I think she gets really overshadowed by Grace Jones as well. Grace Jones has more of an interesting character. She's this interesting, dangerous, villainous sidekick. This is Grace Jones. There's just something about Grace Jones just has a sort of screen presence and a coolness about her as well,
and a craziness.
Enough of this! Control yourselves!
She's a model. She's a singer. She's already a star in her own right. And there's just, I think, just a sort of interesting, sort of coolness about her, and a presence which sort of bleeds into the rest of the movie.
Steady, steady.
She must take a lot of vitamins.
Is she the first female henchman that's actually physically intimidating? Because usually they're sort of femme fatale. They'll shoot you or kick you with a shoe, but this is a woman who can beat you in a fight.
Yeah.
So that's something different.
Yeah.
And I think Grace Jones, not a very good actress.
He was the man at the Eiffel Tower.
We must find him.
Well, they set her up as a forceful presence straight away, because early on in the movie she jumps off the Eiffel Tower, which is you perhaps don't quite expect from a female supporting character. You probably would do nowadays.
Yes. There's something about View to a Kill that really feels like an 80s movie. There's something in the lighting. It looks like a good movie.
Yeah, well, we watched and we said it looks like a Brian De Palma movie. I'd forgotten that this is actually frequently a great looking film.
Yeah.
You get the whole section at the start in Chantilly at the chateau, which looks like we said something like Barry Lyndon. In fact, most of the extras appear to be dressed as extras from Barry Lyndon.
Bizarrely.
And it's a great use of a location, which is something that was totally bungled in Octopussy.
Yeah.
And then when you move into the second half of the movie, it becomes this kind of sort of, I don't know, darker, seedier, sleazier 80s violent action, albeit tempered occasionally with some silly comedy.
Yes.
A snowbound action set piece to open the movie. A combination of genuinely good stunts with totally risible, awful comedy that absolutely deflates the scene completely.
Yeah. The opening credits, and you've got Duran Duran's pop hit, View to a Kill.
Brilliant! I love it. We've had a few pretty bland ones in a row. So we've had All Time High, For Your Eyes Only, Not Brilliant, Moonraker.
Yeah.
And these seem to be a little stuck in the past. But we're now properly into, 1980s synthy pop. It's a complete 180 degree, and it will carry on into the next film. So I think it's a pretty fun pop song.
Oh, Commander Bond.
Bond.
Me, James.
James.
5 days from massacre.
Shitting in a bucket.
The stuff in Paris is a little odd. He meets Monsieur Aubergine. It's like that's what someone wrote in the script before they really thought of a name. And they see the worst show in the restaurant of the Eiffel Tower.
Jesus wept.
Some butterfly crap.
I hope that's not a real show. Could you imagine you have to all the way up to the top of the Eiffel Tower for the restaurant? It probably cost a fortune. It's such a tourist trap. And what is it? Where it's someone whistling at beckoning paper butterflies that are held on a string on the end of a fishing rod by a ninja.
Perhaps we should add this butterfly to our collection? No?
They wanted to get Barbara back as Agent XXX, and Barbara Bach said, I'm not doing that. So they just have this new Russian agent in a scene that's totally he just sleeps with another woman and they're in a jacuzzi.
Next to his boombox, or what I imagine are a collection of Bond's cassettes. And he appears to have a cassette copy of Art Garfunkel's Scissors Cut.
Hang on in, baby, be strong. Love will always find a way. No, you can't.
There is an action scene which I wish was more violent than it was.
What's this loaded with?
Rock salt.
There's so much energy in this action scene. It's close to being this really great visceral, it's dramatic, there's weight, there's heft, there's muscle. Bond feels like a younger man, he looks like a younger man, he feels like a hard-hitting action star for the first time in God knows how many years. It's fantastic, it's close to being absolutely brilliant. It's, again, tempered by, I'm not really sure why.
Too violent?
Tone down the violence, I guess. It's close to being brilliant. If you just imagine in your mind's eye, instead of salt, if it was these, I know it's perhaps a bit violent, but imagine these big squibs, these Paul Verhoeven-esque squibs.
There's a rope that pulls the stuntman back. Maybe it would have just been too weird though if he'd blown away all these people with a shotgun and then cooked a quiche.
Yeah. He's a man of many talents.
Et voila, quiche.
Quiche takes time because you've got to make the pastry.
We bought this quiche.
Yeah, we did make that.
No.
You've got to make the pastry. That takes time because I think you've got to leave it to prove or to set. You've got to roll it out. You've got to blind bake the base, I believe, which takes time. So that means baking it, letting it cool. Then you've got to make the filling. You've got to perhaps pre-cook. I don't know what's in there. There's bacon in there. You have to pre-cook bacon. It appeared to be some slices of pepper on the top. This all takes time. And then you've got to cook the whole thing again in the oven. And you've got to make sure you've made the base well enough that the liquid egg doesn't drip out. This is not something that you just toss off in 20 minutes. A quiche is an investment in time and patience and energy and skill and ingredients. What the fuck?
What is it?
An omelette.
And then we got the big Zeppelin sequence, which, Roger Moore has to, avoid his testicles hitting buildings. But once they hit the Golden Gate Bridge, it's a good sequence.
Decent.
Yeah. The shots of the actual stuntmen on the bridge, they can't do a lot, but it looks magnificent. And even the green screen shots aren't that convincing, but just the idea of a big fight taking place with a Zeppelin and people fighting on the Golden Gate Bridge, I think it's pretty fun. I like Christopher Walken laughing as he falls to his death.
This is a mess, but I think there's a good 90-minute fan edit of this movie.
Yeah.
I think this is a salvageable film. It's not like Die Another Day, Octopussy, Diamonds Are Forever, which I don't think you cannot polish those turds. I think if anyone had the time and the patience, I think you can go and you can cut out some of the comedy that doesn't work, and I think you're left with, it's still not great, but a watchable, decent-ish 80s action movie.
That's more done.
There's
Fine.
no more.
Meeting you